Hello and welcome to Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street, the podcast that knows that the success you take is equal to the relationships you make. I am your host, Patrick Kaiser. Today's episode is a conversation I had with the heads of 4 companies in the gift and home industry, talking about how retailers can get the most out of relationships with sales reps to help their business grow. This is a continuation of the summer sourcing series that we have going on, looking at different ways that retailers can source products for their stores and the advantages and disadvantages of each method. In June, we spoke with retailers and representatives from the trade marts to discuss sourcing products at trade shows. Incredible way to see everything from a vendor all in one place, find new brands, attend educational events, make connections with sales reps and vendors, and attend industry events. However, they can be chaotic, and there are travel expenses that are incurred with going to trade shows, and you're also not guaranteed to work with your area's rep unless you have appointments scheduled out. So, pros and cons. Next month, we will have an exciting episode lined up. We'll be sitting down with Rachel Thomas of Faire.com to discuss the world of online marketplaces and how they're changing the game for retailers in ways of finding new products for their store. But today, we are focused on the sales rep and the relationships that you can form with someone who comes and visits your store, knows your business, looks out for your interests within an area. This was a fantastic group involved in the discussion with so much experience working with and managing sales reps. We had Adam Schrier of Creative Co-op, which was just named the nation's best vendor at the Retail Excellence Awards in Dallas. Angela Schmook of Road Runners and one of the founders of the Reps Are Local 2 movement that launched in June. Brian Schroeder of Creative Brands Company. And Majda Rensberger of OneCoast. There's a great diversity of thought and work experience background throughout this panel, and while they're all currently part of the gift and home industry, that does not mean that the points that they have are irrelevant to those of you who maybe run boutiques or pet stores or toy stores or any other variety of store out there. The concepts are valid across genres of wholesale representation and retail ownership. So without further ado, here's our discussion on how to leverage relationships with sales reps to help your retail store. So today's focus is going to be looking at working with your sales reps within your store. Last month, we talked about attending trade shows where you might work with your local sales rep there, but you might also work with someone that doesn't necessarily know your store there. That's actually one of the disadvantages of a trade show. But today we're focusing on that relationship that you have with your sales rep and working with them in your store. I have a tremendous panel here that I'm very excited about to talk about these relationships and leveraging them to help your business grow. So I will let them introduce themselves. Adam, do you mind kicking us off?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Adam Schrier from Creative Co-op. My 29th year in the industry, always focused on working with independent retailers like yourselves and through sales representatives, who I've always believed are a key component of the relationship between the retailer and the manufacturer, and looking forward to speaking with you all about it today.
Excellent. Thank you. Brian.
Hey, Brian Schroeder with Creative Brands. We operate Santa Barbara Design Studio and Slant Collection and Bella Sleep Spa and Steph and Baby and a few others. So never a dull moment. I've been with this company for 17 years and in the business for over 25 years. Overall. So looking forward to seeing how we can help you in this particular panel.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. And Majda.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Majda Rensberger. I am president of OneCoast. I've been with OneCoast for 19 years. So I've grown up in this industry. We have about 125 territory managers that we work with, and independent retail is what we're all about. It's been our specialty from day one and something that we focus on. And I'm so excited to have this panel today and talk to you all about how you can leverage the relationships with your territory managers better so you can grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do have one other panelist that are having a little bit difficulty entering into the meeting today, so hopefully they will be able to join, but that is Angela Schmook of Road Runners. So really, this is a great panel with a lot of good diversity in it. We have those that are on the vendor side with their own sales team, those on vendor side that are working with sales agencies, people from sales agencies that represent lots of brands, that represent select few brands, those that work with independent reps, those that work with reps that are employees. So a really good wide range, really kind of tackling this from all sides. So very excited about the group that we have here and the voices that you'll be able to hear. So I want to kind of dive into really the meat of this topic, and a kind of overarching, from your all's perspective, why or what is the main benefit of working with sales reps, and how can retailers really benefit from working with sales reps within their stores?
I know, Patrick, I can jump in here,
Yeah, sure.
Being a sales agency on the call, but I would say that, this actually really depends also how retailers are utilizing territory managers, but I would say what makes it unique or what makes it special is that we are a retailer's business partner. At least that's what we strive to be, that if you only look at territory managers as a means to get product, then that's all you would get. But we are business partners to our retailers. So we train to focus on what's right for the retailers. We train to really meet the retailer where he or she is and work our way backwards. It's all about understanding what does the retailer need from us and how do we become part of that solution. So it's so much more than just selling product, but it's truly being an extension of their team. And I think that if retailers also looked at that relationship as, if territory managers are truly an extension of my team, what value do I get? How does that value look differently? Because they are part of my team. But we are all about partnering with the retailer to figure out how we can help them grow their business. And product is a part of it, but there's so much more there than just product.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond selling, right? The best sales representatives understand the retailer's store, and every store is unique, understands the retailer's region, and is able to understand the product and the combination there and what's going to work best for that retailer and help that retailer be most successful. Salespeople who, in general in the world, who just push product, that they're not successful long term. And the best sales representatives are the ones that partner and make that relationship. Majda said partner. I kind of say business doctor. They're the ones that help you drive your business.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they've got knowledge of the competitive landscape too, right? So you hear time and again about the guy down the street has the same item that I have. And I think with working closely with the rep, you can look to avoid that and not have redundancy in the same area or the same town. So definitely benefits all parties.
Love that. I mean, yeah, it is someone that is on your team. They're wanting to see the growth of your business. Maybe not as much as you do, but certainly right alongside you. And they want to see the growth of your business. I love that business doctor. They can look at your business. They can give you an objective outside perspective. Sometimes, retailer, we're too close to it, right? I don't want to make this change. It's kind of something that's, passionate to me, something that is I hold dear, but maybe it is something that we do need to look at and maybe change how we're viewing that. And they can be that doctor to diagnose that for us and see that. And I mean, there's so many great benefits to that to help the business grow. How important is this relationship part? Because that is something that's always, I mean, it's a relationship that the retailer can have with the sales rep. And do you all have any good examples of how a relationship has helped the retailer grow and really become a much more thriving business?
Well, I think, you can look at it across the landscape in terms of we all have larger accounts and you got the smallest startup business, right? So I think if you're a startup, you probably have plenty of examples too, Patrick, of people who have maybe suffered a loss and come back on board with a handful of key reps who have basically got them back off the ground again and help them to start their business. Conversely, you've got the larger retailers who really can benefit from just a few key pieces of advice to really make a significant impact in the business. I think we all think about it too. The rep has a vested interest in growing everybody's business. So the better you are at it, you're like, forget business doctor for a second. You're an investor in everybody's business who you touch. So I think Majda would probably have the best examples of real grassroots examples of how a sales rep has changed a business. But by and large, I mean, everyone has a vested interest in that relationship with the sales rep and the company they're trying to help.
Mm-hmm. And Brian, like, it's funny, even at the show, I just had two examples at the show. In Dallas, we had a retailer come to our Dallas showroom and speak to our sales team in the morning about what makes a great sales rep. You know, and outside of really showing up for the retailer in every way, the example this retailer used with one of our territory managers, that she actually helped her relocate into a different area, still kind of local to where she was, but she helped her find the courage to relocate into an area that she knew was, you know, highly populated, highly successful with other retailers. So even sitting down to say, where do you want to go? Let me help you get there. Let me share with you what I know. Let me share with you what's successful. And that's where I kind of go back to, if we were an extension of your team, if we were truly sitting around the table when you're making strategic decisions about how you grow and where you're going, the value of a territory manager becomes so much bigger and so much more impactful. So it goes from examples like that, helping a retailer relocate. This is a a larger retailer actually with a couple of locations that expanded or that moved their location, to a smaller example, such as also an example from Atlanta show. One of our retailers talked about our territory manager helping her bring out Halloween earlier and sell through on Halloween. You know, she didn't think it would work, but it worked. So not sitting on inventory and really understanding timing of when to pull product out, just purely from seeing what's successful with other retailers and having that experience of seeing things work or not work. And that's something that's, you know, again, there's a lot of ways to buy product. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you leverage every channel, and this in this case is your relationship with an expert to grow your business. And so so those are just some examples, you know, timing of when you bring things out, relocation, I mean, what to bring into your store too, like what's selling, saving you from something that won't work, something that they've seen, you know, fail with someone else. So I mean, truly the examples could be endless.
I think one of the things independent retailers are having the most success with, and we see stores of all sizes be really important, are events. And our sales representatives are working with our customers to put on events. They're coming to those events. They're helping staff those events. They're giving them ideas for events. We have a giftable food line right now that our team is helping host events all across the country. Those events drive sales not only of that product, but within the store. And getting the consumer in your store and having that energy in your store is a big part of what makes the independent retailer different and special. And sales representatives can be a big part of those kinds of events and happenings.
And I love that you said that, Adam, because when we always talk about our mantra is show up. And that doesn't mean just show up. It means show up for your retailer in the way that your retailer needs you to. And that doesn't always end up with an order in your hand. And this is something we talk a lot about, is that our value goes beyond the product and the sale. And so showing up, even when you don't have an appointment, even when that retailer is so busy they can't give you the time, that we still show up. We do our inventory, we service, we work with events, we show up, we bring value beyond product, beyond sales. So I think that's another thing, is how do you need us? Where do you need us? And let us be there for you in that way.
If you have a product line that's a high turn line, right? Many times, either in the candle industry, I've worked for toy companies. Sales representatives will come in and count inventory and restock you and tell you what you need to reorder that you're missing out on things that you've sold through. And there can be extra hands in your store helping you drive the business.
Yes.
So incredibly valuable.
And also throw in on that the ask. There's nothing worse than finding out, like on social media, that a retailer was doing something and you were just out of sync or out of cycle, weren't aware. Like, don't be afraid to ask your reps for bag stuffers or giveaways or raffle items or whatever that may look like, because we want to help you succeed, and we have stuff at our fingertips that we can help you with. Sometimes it's just a matter of the ask.
Yep.
And Angela, welcome. I'm so glad you were able to make it in. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but perfect add in. So thank you. Do you mind just introducing yourself to the attendees today?
Sure. I'll make it super fast. I'm Angela with Road Runners. I am the Vice President of Operations and Marketing with Road Runners. And I'm also the co-founder of the Reps Are Local to movement. And I'm a Mac Apple user, and Teams just hates me. And I even
I was wondering. Well, sorry about that. Yeah, I think that has the Mac Apple, the feud there, unfortunately. Yes. But do you mind just touching on Reps Are Local 2 movement? Because that has really exploded in the last month, and really is kind of the heart of what we're talking about today. And so you mind talking about Reps Are Local 2 for a minute?
Sure. It's a super simple message, and it is one of shop local, order local with your local sales rep. And that is the crux of the message. And so we're just encouraging retailers to remember your local reps, to maybe start with trying to connect, if you're looking to buy a brand, of finding out who that local rep is. And the message is as simple as that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And it is such a great movement message that, working with your reps, a little bit of what we're talking about today. It is so important for the business that they can provide more knowledge for your business. They can help out in so many ways that they are so valuable to the independent retailer. So thank you for starting that and really bringing awareness to it. Retailers out there, you've probably seen a lot on social media about Reps Are Local 2. I know I am. So it's really something that is exploding. So, and Brian, kind of going back to something you said earlier, from when Heart on Main Street helping out with independent retailers that have been impacted by natural disasters, another thing of communicating with their vendors that this has happened, and then being kind of that liaison between the vendor of what they can do to help out, whether it's helping through Heart on Main Street or whether it's holding orders, but really being that advocate for them from the vendor side is something I've seen over and over, and that being such a great help for the rep to be with their vendors. So absolutely. Oh, from a product knowledge standpoint, things are always changing, and things are in industry are changing, and trends are changing, and products are changing. How do you all communicate that to the sales reps so that they can best provide that information to their retailers?
I think that the challenge is most sales representatives carry thousands, maybe tens of thousands of products, sure. Right? So they can be experts on brands and lines, but they may not be an expert and have their fingertips the specific knowledge of a product. And we work really hard to give our sales representatives lots of training on the overall line, on specific collections. And then we have a library of information when a specific product question comes up on this specific little thing, that we can always get back to the customer with that information. I think there is a balance there between knowing every last detail, which can be overwhelming and almost impossible, but making the information available and ready that we can always get back to the answers.
Exactly. I would say, go ahead, Angel.
Well, I was just going to add, that's one of the things under my role of operations, as Adam said, is we try to store all the information so the reps can have it as readily as possible at their fingertips. So we have a share file where we keep everything so that they can find it. And we also utilize a texting platform called GroupMe. So if a rep's not able to put their fingertips on it quickly, they can reach out to their peers and to the managers and say, hey, someone yesterday, does anyone know what this pillow is filled with? Because it wasn't in the catalog. And, and was able to help her and chime in right while she was sitting with the customer.
Mm-hmm. And I'll touch on, there's lots of different ways that we train. Under the OneCoast business model, we're kind of a focused sales representation model. We have two divisions, one that only sells mud pie, which really helps because those territory managers can be expert in that one line. In our gift division, we have 6 companies. So even with 6, like Adam said, it is hard to be an expert in all areas. And there's a lot of ways, and it's truly consistent education on the lines in multiple ways. But what I would say matters a lot when we do train campaign. And what we spend a lot of time on is the vendor brand story and mission. Kind of what does this vendor want to exude to the retailer? What message are we trying to carry? Where are we trying to go? And so really making sure that the territory manager understands what is the mission of the vendor, what is the story that's going to resonate at retail, but also at consumer level. So we spend a lot of time understanding the story and then certainly understanding the product. Our marketing team spends a lot of time curating trends and kind of trying to help the sales representative understand how to curate stories across multiple brands, but to also touch on consumer trends that are relevant and make that easy for the retailer. And I would say that's also how we're evolving. If you ask me, where are we going in terms of our training? It's curated selling. How do we take the mystery out of how you put things together, which really speaks into merchandising at retail. So I would say we spend a lot of time on the whole vendor story that's more consumer relevant, and then trends, curated trends to pull those products together.
I liked what you said about the story. It used to be sales management would talk about the brand story or items, right? So if it's me, and we have some of my reps on this call right now, if it's me, I would say, hey, here's a tote bag. Well, how often have I carried a tote bag? None. Or here's a onesie. Well, I don't have any babies, right? My youngest are 18. So they can at least tell the story of the inspiration behind the line. Like you were saying, the color story behind it, what's trending. And then we sort of rely on the reps to maybe retain, I don't know, some percentage of it so that they can relay that to the customer. Because as Adam said, we're talking about tens of thousands of items across multiple brands and whatnot. So it's challenging, but we too are evolving to try to make it better and easier, and maybe give it a flashcard approach to just have the knowledge easily ingrained in the rep's mind so they can pass it along down the road.
Yeah, there's a piece of product knowledge that the reps have that the manufacturers don't. Reps are in customer stores every day. They see how other stores have merchandised it, presented it, cross-merchandised it. They've seen what promotions have worked in other stores. That kind of product knowledge, not only are they passing along to their other retailers, but we're desperate to get that back from them. It's very educational for us. We learn as much from our reps about how our products do and what's working as we do from our, from talking to retailers. They're the best source of what's happening at retail.
Yeah. Which drives back to the whole value piece of it, is that it's, what is the value that we can bring outside of selling the product? Because even as consumer, we can buy product anywhere. But why do we choose to go into a boutique, into a small retail shop? It's because of that relationship. It's because you know my name. It's because there's meaning behind something that I'm buying. And I think it's the same thing with territory manager sales. By the way, I keep using territory managers. That's what we call sales reps. But it's kind of the same principle. When a territory manager walks into your store, it is about the relationship. It's being part of your story. And to Brian's point too, carrying the vendors' stories to you so that you can sell something more meaningful and something more unique, than a product that they can buy at Target or at Walmart or on Amazon, that there is meaning behind everything that we do. And isn't that what we're all about? Connections and meaning.
So what I'm hearing from a lot is, from retailers, don't be afraid to ask those stories. Why is this brand doing it this way? Why, learning the story behind it that can help out your sales associates, being able to tell the story to customers that are coming in, that they have access to this data. So, there's thousands and thousands of products. They might not be an expert on everything, but they have access somewhere in their order entry system or within texting a friend to be able to find out more. So asking those good probing questions, your reps are there for you. They can either find out the answer, they know the answer, they can tell the stories behind these things and be able to give you that knowledge that can then translate into what you can talk to your customers about and how that can sell. And it made me have question or pictures from other stores of how these things have been merchandised, how they've been displayed together. Being able to share that information is a huge role of the rep that you can't get from other people, right? You can't get that from an online store. You can't get that from other places of, really that store to store knowledge and being able to share that with each other. So that relationship in working with your rep in the store ask them those questions so that you can learn and you can get the best products for your store in the best placements and be able to work with your customers as well as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So beyond products, we've talked a couple of different things, but what else can a retailer really get from their rep that they might not be able to get from someone that doesn't know their store as well?
One thing we haven't talked about is problem resolution. We all deal in real product getting shipped. Stuff breaks, stuff gets damaged. Sometimes stuff is defective. Sometimes an invoice isn't right. Those are all issues that the independent retailer has to deal with, and they can be challenging, and it's just one more thing to do. And sales representatives can be big helps in getting those problems resolved. And they're your advocate with the vendors, and should be somebody that you can turn to when you have a challenge.
It's like having an business partner, someone that doesn't have a stake in your business, but really does have a stake in your business, because the more successful you are, the more successful they are.
Yes, and Angela, to that point too, sales reps take relationships with retailers so personal. So when Adam was talking about when there's supply chain issues, when something is wrong with your order and you call, they're desperate to resolve that for you. Sometimes probably not the best first step, because you can probably resolve it quicker going direct to vendor, but they will fight for you, they will represent you, and they take the relationship extremely personal, because a lot of times we talk about our industry is so relationship driven. The relationship is it's a business partnership, but I'm sure everybody can agree it's a friendship. There have been sales reps in the business for over 20, 30 years that have worked with the same retailers for over many years. They've become friends. You know each other's families. You know each other's lives. There's so much there that makes this industry magical. But it all goes down. It boils down to the relationship. And they take that very, very seriously and do whatever they can to represent you to the vendor and to represent your voice. So
I think part of that too is they could prevent you from making a mistake, right? We all can order online and we all can look at the reviews and the 5-star ratings and whatnot, and try to make a decision based on that. But I think to your point about the relationship and the friendships, friends don't let friends buy garbage, right? So you're not going to let them make a mistake in their store. That ultimately ties into our next question, which is how can you prevent a costly mistake or add some financial value? So I think that preventing somebody, because of your industry knowledge and relationship, from making a mistake that might later cost them in a return or a markdown or what have you, that's clearly a benefit.
Yeah.
Vendors don't make garbage, just not something that's not going to sell it at that store, right? It's just, it's
10,000 products. You don't have a bunch of good ones. They're not all great.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Trying to give a little leeway, but it is a great segue into really, we want, from retailer perspective, we want something financially beneficial, right? So that financial benefit from Brian, you touched on is the helping them not make bad decisions. What other really financial benefits do you all see from working with reps?
There's the timing.
Go ahead, Angela.
I was going to say there's the timing of promotions too. I mean, there are some brands that have multitudes, many layers of promotions, and sometimes it's not necessarily that this promotion is the best promotion. It's what's the best promotion for that retailer and that retailer's buying cycle and season. So sometimes it's really navigating and finding exactly what's right for the retailer.
And Angela, you said it yesterday when we were chatting, and that was such a good point about, inventory. And every day that your inventory sits in the back or on a shelf somewhere is a day that you lose. And so it's kind of how utilizing your territory manager to understand how you can sell through something, how you make sure you're not sitting on inventory. And Brian said it, those are costly mistakes, really helping you understand what to sell or what not to sell. I thought that was a really, really good point, Angela, you made yesterday. Because you don't think about cost savings quite from that standpoint. When you think about cost savings, you literally go immediately to promotions, right? You think of that as kind of like hardcore cost savings, but making decisions that would keep inventory in the back are costly long term. So,
and having enough on the shelf too.
and exactly.
I think
I was
Angela
just
said it. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, from the creative co-op perspective, we think the sales representative is so integral to the relationship that we release promotions and any specials to the sales representatives beforehand, usually sometimes a week or two, sometimes a few days before they're released widely. We have some promotions that are only released through our sales representatives because we're trying to solidify that relationship between the retailer and the sales representative.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good point. We like to have our people armed in the field with the promos, because last thing you want is somebody to say, hey, I bought from you when you're in my store 2 days ago, and I saw this come online 2 hours later, and can I get the same deal? So I think the bigger presence the rep has, and of course, the more that vendors like us or creative keep people in the loop, then the better off the relationship ultimately is too, because they know they're going to get the best deal by seeing the rep in the store.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a data point. I've been studying this since the early 2000s. Customers, retailers who continue to buy from vendors. It's true of Creative Co-op, but it was true of Melissa and Doug Toys, where I was for many years. It's true of almost every vendor I've talked to. The retailer that has a relationship with their sales representative, but also comes and buys with them at market and also uses online tools to buy, as long that multi-channel, all those different ways that you're talking about, and I know we're supposed to focus, that is the retailer that's the most successful and has the best long-term partnership. And it's proven out across data. I've talked to lots of peers and lots of other companies. The best place where that vendor retailer relationship is the steadiest and the most profitable for both sides is when the sales representative is at the middle of it, and that retailer is using all the different ways to buy. That's that's the 5, 10, 15-year relationships. That's where the money gets made for everybody, for the retailer, for the sales representative, and for the vendor.
I love that you said, oh, sorry, Angela, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just love that you said that, Adam, because I had a note to actually mention this, but we've been omni-channel for many, many years. And early on, when e-commerce in our industry just started coming up, we decided we'll never put the customer in the middle of deciding how to buy. It's that whole concept of meet the customer where she is or he or she is. And what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. The point is, what I wanted to make is that when we look at every channel of business, whether it's digital, so you're shopping on a marketplace, or you're calling in, or you are buying at a trade show, or you're working face-to-face with a territory manager, with a sales rep, every channel has its value and its benefits. And I think it's about understanding what is the benefit of buying on a marketplace, what's the benefit of using that relationship and leveraging TM's expertise. And to your point, it's when you understand the value of each channel, you'll utilize them in the right way. It's never one, this or that. It never is. Even as a consumer, do you ever find yourself only buying one way? We don't. It's not our nature. So it's just about strategically utilizing different channels of business to serve you in the best way possible. And this is the message we share with our territory managers all the time, is don't worry, don't stress about the fact that and this is a sticking point too for sales reps, don't stress so much about where our retailer chooses to buy. Because sometimes, a territory manager will walk into the store, spend the time, consult, offer up, and then that order will come through the website. And that breaks the sales rep's heart. And our message is, don't let it. You have to be comfortable knowing that you have added value that day, that when you showed up, you didn't just sell product, that you listened to the needs of your retailer, that you serviced, that you offered up some value information that can in some way add value to their business. But how the retailer chooses to buy, how you choose to buy, is it's up to you, and it should serve you in the best way possible. Our job is to add value to you. And so it's an omni-channel world that we live in, and we all have to embrace it. So thanks for saying that, Adam. And it's something we continue to talk to our territory managers about. It will also always be the pain point, that we can't ignore, because it's hard work that is being put into that moment. But if we understand that it's not about the transaction, it's not about the transaction, it's about the relationship and the value, then it doesn't matter where the sale comes through. So
look, we make it a point for our sales representatives to teach our customers how to use our business-to-business website, because there's times where you have the time to sit down and work with a sales representative in their stores, and there's times it's late at night, you need to get a quick reorder in for something that you've stocked out. There's a place and a purpose.
Yes.
And look, something, I've been pushing in the industry for a long time, something that Creative Co-op does, and I think the most forward thinking of brands and lines is that from a commission and the sales representative's credit, from our perspective, we don't care where the order comes from. We want the retailer buy where they buy, no matter where they buy, at any time they buy. We fully credit our sales representatives for the commission on those things. Everybody's got to make money in this industry. It is a financial situation, and we never want to put our retailers in the middle of making a choice. As Majda said, retailers should buy where they are at that moment. The sales representative should get full credit all the time. It's our perspective.
Yeah.
Love that you all just kind of hit on the macro analysis of the summer seminar series is about buying from different ways, and that there are advantages to each one, and when you would want to use each individual thing, each individual path. So thank you guys. We should use that for summer marketing. But what are some challenges? We hit a little bit on maybe a timing challenge, but what are some of the challenges that do come with working with a sales rep in your store?
Isn't it just time in general? I would have to assume that, and we talked about this yesterday, it's got to be time. Everybody's working a little bit slimmer today. There's less time to allocate to anything, right? So you're the chief cook and bottle washer of your operation in a lot of cases. So how can you see a rep, and then how do you see a rep that has multiple lines, or even with our company, you've got 7 brands within there, you get an attention deficit type of a situation that would kick in. So I would have to imagine that would be one of the bigger challenges facing our business today and for the future, which then lends itself to the omni-channel piece that we were just talking about with Adam and Majda a moment ago. So definitely time's got to be among the top.
I would agree with that. Capacity, right? I mean, there's only so many customers you can see face to face in a certain time period. That is also driven by, product launches and the introduction cycles. And so you're right, we're always racing against time. I think that's definitely a challenge, which is why omni-channel works. And, I would say just kind of honesty too. While we train and we have a vision as to what that ideal relationship looks like and how we service the retailer, not every territory manager, every sales representative is exactly at that point. We have new territory managers coming into the business, not just into OneCoast, but into our industry, that are learning the industry. And so there's always that too. It's just if there is a new relationship that's being started, a new territory manager starting in a territory, and you're starting a new relationship with a sales rep, there's that period of time where they're still ramping up and they're learning. And I think that could be a challenge to the retailer too. So, or at least it is, to us, I think, all as an industry.
One other struggle is also tools. And what I mean by that is, as technology has advanced and we're exploring with new types of tools, the sales reps are not always equipped with all the tools for a specific buyer. And what I mean by is, there are some buyers that can shop from a digital catalog, no problem. There are buyers that can shop from pictures on a cell phone. There are buyers that absolutely have to have a paper catalog. It's the only way that they can shop. And so sometimes when the sales rep is not equipped with the right tools for that specific buyer type, it can create a little bit of friction in the sale, because the rep is not able to meet the buyer where they want to be met. I also see the other side of it, where there are cost savings and dollars can be put differently. So I don't exactly have the solution to the problem, but I just wanted to kind of volley it out there, because that is something that we are seeing when it comes to meeting the buyer where the buyer wants to be met. We don't always have all the tools.
Yeah.
I could see that varying from rep to rep, that some have more technology or more tools that others do not, or even brand to brand, that some brands are offering these things, and that even with the rep, they have some things with this brand, but I don't have that an equivalent thing with another brand that I'm representing. And that kind of being a challenge to how you're able to work with your retailer. And from a time aspect, retailers, if you have, let's say, 600 different brands, probably a lot, but you have, hundreds of different brands within your store, that could be dozens of different reps that are coming in trying to find the time to work with all of them and sit down. There are challenges there. But from relationship standpoint, there's a lot of benefits to trying to make that time and be able to have that hour, or find out more from them, and really growing that relationship.
Patrick, you just kind of hit on something pretty important about making time, because you're right. Sitting down with a territory manager, it will take time and it takes commitment that sometimes, a retailer can't afford because they are doing everything in the store. But to make time, our territory managers are willing to meet you whenever you are able to. And so it's just saying that I'm going to commit this hour, and really just stressing how important it is to be, a territory manager has to be ready for you for that hour, and make sure that we're using that hour to your best advantage, maybe doing some work prior to meeting them. But I love that what you just said, because I think the success of working with someone comes from that commitment that we're going to sit down and here's what we're going to do, and that there's some pre-planning that happens before that appointment.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And there might be on the rep side planning for that, but also from the retailer side, understanding, being prepared for that meeting as well, understanding what you need reorders of, what categories you might be looking into that they could have. So, some preparation beforehand could take that 4-hour meeting and cut it down to an hour. So where do you all see the evolution of sales reps? Where do you see sales rep retailer interaction being in 5 years, 10 years from now?
I see it as more of a hybrid model. When I was a sales rep, this is really going to date me for a moment, but when I started as a sales rep, you only met retailers in store, period. It was the lazy reps that would call to ask for an order for a and so it's really changed quite a bit, because if a rep can not spend so much time in the car behind the windshield and can spend more time engaged in answering and helping retailers and leveraging some of the technology tools more, I think that's where we're headed. Something that's going to be a face-to-face model, but also leveraging technology more.
Patrick, I would say probably the territory manager's role would move more into being a consultant kind of role. So more emphasis on value added knowledge, that territory managers need to have more merchandising skills, marketing skills, that background will serve the relationship even more so, because again, product can be bought anywhere, but how do we become a true business partner to help the retailer grow the business? So, and that I think will come through knowledge like trends, knowledge about merchandising, marketing, the latest and the greatest to help the retailer get there or accelerate them getting to that point. And so I would say the role is going to evolve to become more of a consultant, and again, transactions will happen multiple ways, but the value add piece will become so much more important.
I think the best sales representatives have always been consultants.
Yeah.
And the retailers that have utilized their sales representatives the best over the years have always used them in that consulting. I think the technology and the various ways and the hybrid approach is enabling the consultant role to grow and become larger and larger.
I would think that too, on all that leverage, right? So I think 5 years from now, ultimately you could have less feet on the street, because we see in this industry, we've got a problem that everybody's acknowledged before. And where is the new blood? If there isn't new blood, it's got to be leverage. How do you touch all the customers with perhaps less people in certain territories. So that's where we go back to the omni-channel. It's almost this conversation goes full circle. You're a consultant. You understand how to leverage technology. You understand apps. You understand the company you represent, websites, right? So you can help your customer walk through it and navigate that. You understand the telephone. So I think there's a multitude of things that will continue to evolve over 5 years to really result in best leveraging the relationship with rep and retailer.
Wonderful. Yeah. That's really, wanting to build that relationship and be able to benefit the retailer as much as possible. We did have a question coming in, so thank you, Danielle. But looking ahead at fourth quarter, what do you all see as some ideas for events or promotions?
I know I was going to say, okay, events specifically. I mean, again, open houses are always great ideas. See, this is where I would sit down. Is it Danielle that asked that?
Yes.
And I would want to understand kind of what have you done in the past, what's worked for you, what hasn't, what area are you in, what are we trying to really capitalize on and kind of come up with a creative way to draw sales. Is foot traffic your challenge? Is it sell-through? So I don't mean to be vague in answering. There's a lot of different events we can put on, but I think it really depends upon what you're trying to achieve, what your end result is going to be.
Go ahead, Angela.
I think that's a fantastic question, and it's opened up a box to sort of share a quick little story. So Roadrunners has recently partnered with the Boutique Hub, and the Boutique Hub is extremely well known in the fashion and apparel side of the business, and they are working hard to become more engaged in gift and home. Where I'm going with all of this is one of the things that I have most enjoyed through this partnership is the network of retailers and their engagement. It is unlike anything I've ever seen in my more than 20 years in gift and home. And that is the perfect example of a topic that they consistently and constantly share in their networking groups. And they will give a little more information. Danielle, I have no idea where your store is, but I'm just going to be real hypothetical. Someone will say, I am in a rural area. I only have this many people in my town. I've done this and this and this. What are some other ideas I can try? And I'm going to tell you, there are hundreds of stores will say, what about this? What about this? What about that? They'll give links, they'll give pictures. And it is like that network that has been so incredible. And events are one of the things that I see the most in this group. So I thought that was a great opportunity to share that's a really interesting educational platform that is really helping retailers grow.
Yes. Huge fan of Boutique Hub. They do amazing work. And yeah, the network that they have there, the participation of retailers talking with each other is tremendous. And I would talk to your reps. They see hundreds of stores. What have they seen that others are doing? I'm always a big proponent of communities doing things together. And so if you have an opportunity to work with the other retailers in your community, it could be something, doing things with your window displays, having, a find the pumpkin, where you go around and you try and through windows and find, and you can maybe have like a little scorecard and go in and get a punch. It encourages people to come into town and encourages people to interact with the stores and interact with community. So things like that, I'm always a huge proponent of things that involve the other retailers within your community that you can do together, that's collaborative, that you're encouraging customers to not only go to your store, but go to the other stores around you. But there's tons of different things we can do during the fourth quarter to really drive sales and get people into your shopping area.
And Danielle, we'd be happy to, obviously we could probably spend a whole hour about events, but we'd be happy to send links with some ideas. We're always writing about and kind of gathering feedback about what events work. Probably I'm not the best resource for it, but I will certainly make sure if you send us your email address, we can get you a list of resources to get that. There's always blog posts around that, and ton of social content around events. So we'll be happy to share that with you.
All right. I have time for some Q&A, but I did want to, before turn it over to the crowd, any final piece of advice that you all have for retailers wanting to maximize the relationship with their sales reps?
I would think most recently we've heard stories about retailers playing conservative, right? And it makes a lot of sense. We're in somewhat uncertain times, but at the end of the day, what do people want? We see it all the time in the showrooms. We come in and we say, what's your best seller? What's new? Not necessarily in that order. So I think even if you're playing conservative, you've got to make it look fresh in the store. And that's every bit the reason to see the rep ongoingly. So maybe you're not placing the biggest order in the world, but you want to do some frequent orders to make everything look fresh. And as they say, move things around and just keep the consumer wanting to come back into the store. And I think the rep is probably based on order history, show experience. They're going to be a great resource right now to tell you what's new and hot and that can freshen up the look in the store.
Excellent.
Patrick, I'll just kind of feed off of what I said at the beginning about if we were an extension of your team, how would you think of us differently, or how would you involve us differently? Now, hopefully every salesperson that walks into your door is asking you a question and is listening and is wanting to know where you want to go and what problem you're trying to solve and helping you in that direction. But, if not, I would say be open, tell them what you need, think about them as a resource. What do you want to get out of that relationship? And so, if hopefully they're always opening that door and, really leading that conversation. But I would say be open-minded and think of the question, if we were an extension of your team, how would you leverage us? And also maybe even understanding what is the sales rep strength and how can I utilize this strength to help me with my business with something that I'm struggling in. You may be surprised to learn that some salespeople are amazing at social media, or they have a merchandising background and you may have not even known about it. Maybe they don't speak about it. Maybe they haven't showcased that yet. So I would say be open, think really about how you leverage the strength and think of it as a strategic partnership in a way that a territory manager can really help accelerate and grow your business in a much more strategic way, where product is a part of that, but it's so much more. So I would say think of us as an extension of your team, as your partner.
I like what everyone just said, especially that last point. I kind of popped on with the same, and I'll sort of the same, and that is really engaging your rep and asking. And also, don't be afraid to share with your rep how you prefer to be contacted and communicate. There was a GHTA panel a year or two ago where we had 5 retailers on the stage, and all 5 retailers wanted to be contacted differently. Some people prefer for you to phone. Some people want you to pop in. Some people don't want you to pop in. Some people want you to email. Some people don't want you to email. So don't be afraid to let your rep know, like, hey, text me at 9 o'clock at night, because that's when you'll best get me.
Yes. Yeah,
exactly. Let us know your preferences.
I just would say, benefit of the doubt, lean into that sales representative, see them as your partner. I think we all, as just people, whenever we feel like we're being sold, it's defensive and lean back. I'd say lean in, right? Lean in, give them the benefit of the doubt, push on them to help you. And most of the time, I'd say almost the vast majority of the time, they're going to help you more and be your extra hands and those partners, and leaning into them will get you a big benefit from it.
Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Reps are an important part of the business. They want to see your success. They're wanting to see you grow. They're wanting a long lasting relationship with you. So work with that relationship and ask questions and tell them how you want to be communicated with. They're wanting to see your success too. So,
Yes.
does not look like we have any other questions coming in. So thank you all so much for your time. Adam, Angela,
you.
Brian, Majda, thank you very much for being a part
Thank
of
you
this
all.
webinar today. A little plug for our next webinar, which will be August 28th, 28th. And we're going to be talking about continuing this summer sourcing and talking about online marketplaces. So if you'd like to register for that, you can go to heartonmainstreet.org and register there. But thank you all for attending. Thank you all for being a part of this and contributing your wealth of knowledge. So thank you.
Thanks
Have a
for
wonderful
having
day,
us,
everybody.
Patrick. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode. If you would like to watch this or any other webinar that we've conducted in the past, or register for a future webinar, you can do all of that through our website, heartonmainstreet.org. I really hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Stay safe, shop small, and have a great weekend. This episode was written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Kaiser, with a very special thanks to Adam Schrier, Angela Schmook, Brian Schroeder, and Majda Rensberger. If you want to find out more information about Heart on Main Street and the things that we do as an organization, you can do so by visiting heartonmainstreet.org.